welcome everyone. We are here at the opening of our Post Institutional Café. We're very happy to welcome everybody today. We have Ludwig Mueller from Moving School, and this has been a collaboration between La Innovation Kitchen and Moving School. And we are here in Kassel, in the middle of Documenta that has been a very interesting experience today. Hello, Ludwig, how are you?
Thank you, Jorge. Yeah, it's the city is very vibrant. So we had 2 hot days of opening of Documenta, and you could already taste the art world and the very different way Documenta presents itself this time. It's very much about collaboration, working together, resources, sustainability. So if you come here, you will not see like so many, I mean, there are artworks to look at, but mostly you will be part of the art and interact.
Actually, this is a very interesting point about Documenta this year and connects really well with our Post-Institutional Café. And it's about the power of community, the power of self-organization beyond institutions and beyond, let's say, formats that society has been working with in the later days. In our case, it's about learning, but in the case of art, it's more about collectives doing art. We don't have big names this year here, like famous artists, doing the normal institutional art exhibitions, but we have collectives that are working with communities in different countries of the world. So it has this collaboration and social thing that we also want to, let's say, propose at the Post-Institutional Café. So I'm going to try to explain a little bit what the post-institutional thing is about and how we can actually go with it for the whole week. So what is it, right? So what is it that we're talking about when we talk about the cafe? We commented before in the organization that it was a conversation space, right? So this is very important because we have invited people that are linked to learning and that are linked to the world of getting new things in your mind. So we have very different participants. We have a series of artists that the Moving School and Ludwig brought, because this is an art event, and we have other learners and other institutions that are helping people get knowledge and be more creative and have their skills, let's say, upgraded and grown. So what do you think about this conversational space?
I mean, now in the cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very important because it's also the way you learn best. No? I mean, in our like traditional learning, it's many times more like the Middle Ages. You have one teacher in front and the students sitting in a row, and there's like one-way communication. And I mean, maybe for some subjects that's useful, or at least for a certain time. I can understand why, like, some business students tell me they have like almost 4 hours of this kind of communication. Professor stands there and they're sitting there. I mean, who can concentrate that long? So also for our format, that's why we say, okay, let's have like 15 or 20 minutes presentation, because that's the time you can concentrate. And then, yeah, talk about it, because through exchange of ideas, through idea you say or word you say, I get my fantasy going and back and forth. So, and that's how it creates also new knowledge and new insights.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting because traditionally and for centuries, the way that human beings have learned is through conversations, through sharing, through discussion. Well, we have this year in, I have this really interesting magazine that is being very useful for getting oriented in Documenta, because this Documenta is very conversational. So it involves you, it puts you in the middle of the artwork, it makes you participate, it makes you, let's say, be active as an audience. Same as you were mentioning before in education. Traditional education is normally, you know, a group of people or children or young people listening to one person in a, you know, like unidirectional way. And we're thinking more about how can we all exchange and how can we all provide each other with what we know and what we can offer to the rest of us. And our second point is the new learning model. So we have this model that is highly hierarchical. So we have like this teacher, you know, in a special place, and we have the listeners, right? Like television used to be like that. You know, there's the TV and there is the audience, like listening to the TV. So these new models beyond these current educational systems is what we want to talk about here. And the world of art is also very interesting for this. The world of art has been changing its models and its ways into a more participative scheme and into a more participative. And the proposition here is that we can all build models. So it doesn't have to be an institution, right? But we can all build models. Do you have any like example? I know the Moving School has been doing a lot of experimental formats and experimental activities. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it started with this, we had like a week, we called it a change maker camp, and there were students from different countries coming, working a week on different ideas. So one group chose to work on this idea, what is the future of the university look like? And they came up with this idea, it's not stable or staying in one place, but it's teachers and students are moving around the world from country to country, and where they are, they live, they learn from the culture, from the people they are. So, and they made a really like a concept, you know, how it should work and so on. And it was fabulous. I was totally intrigued by that. But then after this week, you know, they go back to their places. Some people stick to this idea. So in the following year, it was the document of 2012. And so I decided I'd just catch this idea and try to start with it. So end of Documenta, we started with workshops, weeks, and teachers from different countries came to give their courses by no payment. So it was kind of a zero event kind of. Yeah, and in the following years, we collaborated with the Entrepreneurship Institute of the University of Kassel, because they told me, okay, what you're doing or the way you're doing, it's exactly what we need, because we want to help people to think by themselves, to create new ideas, be innovative, and take responsibilities. And out of that came a lot of different projects.
That's really interesting, because it goes to our next point, which is the learning experience design. So to create these new models, we do need to design learning experiences like this, right? A group of people travel here and there, and they learn not only from each other, but from the context, from the city they're visiting, or from the community they are interacting with. And this becomes like a new way of designing learning experiences, and a new model that we can also work in, having the possibility of expanding our knowledge and having a more, let's say, horizontal and holistic learning for everybody. So one of the main purposes of this post-institutional cafe is to be able to build a toolkit. That means create tools that collect the concepts and ways of participants or speakers, anybody who has had a learning experience, which is most of the world, and contribute to building this toolkit. So we will be, let's say, collecting these along the week. Our speakers have already created some of these concepts, and we have some cards that we will share and that we will work with during the workshops to be able to combine different concepts and create new models. For example, in the case of a moving school, mobility will be one, right? Horizontal knowledge will be another, and then we can combine different things. Perfect. So the next question is why we do this, right? What is the reason that we have to do this? What would you say, Ludwig?
Yeah, I mean, another root of moving school was my experience in teaching teacher students in university in school counseling. And through this kind of certificate course, we worked in different schools in Kassel, which, you know, also schools which have maybe a lot of problems, or the kids have a lot of problems, the families have a lot of problems. And I became aware another way what the educational system we expose our children to is insufficient in many ways to help them build their life. I mean, even in Germany, this rich country, only 1/3 of migrant children reach higher education. And not to talk about other, you know, bio-German kids who have not the surrounding of a middle-class family, you know. So and so many children are left behind. If you go also further to university, it struck me that even students who already studied several semesters or almost close to exams, they don't know what to do with their studies. They still ask for orientation. Where should I go? So, like, many of these life questions are not addressed in the system, and that has to change because we lose a lot of lives through that.
And great talent, you know. It's like people don't have the opportunities to grow their talents. First, find their talents, find their own voice, and understand everybody is good for something. That's so finding that is a process that might happen, you know, childhood and teen years, and the current models don't really encourage or allow that. And it's very important that as you were saying, the current models are not responding to what human beings are capable of. I do believe we have a huge potential that is not growing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, in a way, we don't have to invent the wheel again, as we say, because in Germany, other countries, I mean, there are these reform schools. I mean, you know, I mean, from long time, we have these reformers of pedagogy, education, and there are schools who really do a very good job, you know? But it's not transferred to the whole system. And I don't understand that. I mean, because we have experienced how education is working and we don't scale it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah, that's true. The other important thing that is related to what you're saying is the learning spaces, right? So we do have some initiatives, you know, some schools or some organizations or some community-based projects that become, like this alternative space, but the main system is still the same. So those new spaces and mostly those new tools, we have technology, we have more public spaces, more public infrastructure, more and more everywhere in the world, some places more, some places less, but we do have more access to possibilities and tools to create, like those meeting points, those places where learning can happen and where things can, change the model. And another thing is this learning experience design should consider all these resources and all that potential that in this case technology has, or initiatives have, or the action of communities are there, and the current system doesn't use that, it's like very difficult. But this week we're going to have wonderful examples, right? About how learning happens at very different levels in very different organizations with amazing projects all over the world. So this is our program. Some changes have happened to the program, and you can check in our website the latest version of this, because being in Documenta has been fabulous, and we have met so many nice people with great ideas. So we have added a couple of new speakers. So you can check this the final program in the link that you see there. You just go to the Post Institutional Café event and you can check the latest version of a program, pick your favorite sessions, and then also grab it to your calendar. We have let's say two formats for the week. The first format is like talks, as Ludwig said before. We have 30-minute talks. Each speaker is using those 30 minutes in 15 and 15, 15 for talking, 15 for conversation, 20 and 10, and so on. They're free to do that. So it's good that the participation is there. And there's always a space for this participation. So we have several 30-minute talks. And then the other thing that we have is 1-hour workshops. So we will be working online and offline in the space with 1-hour workshops. The first workshop, I think I have it here. Yeah, the first workshop has is the space for creating the concepts that we talked about before. Some of our speakers already provided concepts. You can have an example here. So here we have one concept that is action games for change, and it has a lot to do with being playful, with being, like ludic, right, in these type of things. And then we can create other concepts. It comes from our own experience. So everybody has had a learning experience at school or somewhere else. We have the hockey and the young hockey league from Kenya, right?
Yeah.
And that's really amazing.
Yeah, that's a very good example, because I had it in our podcast. She's a young woman. She's a student and entrepreneur, and she plays hockey in Kenya. So there's only one ice in all of Africa. And she was asked by the national men team to participate. But what she's talking about is like how inviting kids from the suburbs, the poor kids, to come, and how that making sports, playing, keeps them from the streets, from being exposed to crime and prostitution, and so that's a very special way of education, but it's very impactful.
And the thing is that education is also education for life. It's not only about information that we have about science and humanities and art, but it's also about life. It's about how we can manage our lives and live our lives and grow as human beings. So we will have these cards with different concepts where we will, in workshop 2, we will, okay, the effects. Yeah, each card has two sides. The first side is the name of the concept, and the other side will be the description of that concept, okay? And in the second workshop that we will have on Thursday, then we will start building, models, combining all those concepts in the cards. So what we first do is looking for targeting, creating a specific model, okay? And that will come from the cards, that will come from the concepts, that is contributions from speakers and from anybody who wants to contribute. The first thing we do is find out in which context or situation do we need this learning experience to happen, or this learning model to act, right? So for example, if we have the kids in Kenya, or if we have, I don't know, the kids in Germany, it's a completely different situation and context. So we will pick those cards, combine them, and maybe this is a good way of creating an ideation for different resources, different concepts that can be combined. This is going to be a game. This is going to be like a playful way to also build the models. And if the card that has the concept doesn't work in that context, we just take another card, right? And look for the best possibilities for that specific context or situation. So that's going to be our workshop 2 in Thursday. So everybody is invited to do these both workshops. The first one to create the concepts. We already have like some 20 concepts or 25 concepts. And then we can, the more we have, the richer the options will be. Here we have some practical data about the week and how to connect, how to, let's say, be on the spot. You are already on the Zoom call, so this is already covered. We are transmitting via YouTube as well. In our YouTube channel, we are transmitting via Facebook Live, via La Innovation Kitchen. So this will be the rooms and the locations where you can access. It's good to register for the events because if we have any last minute changes or whatever, the platform will inform you. So we have a couple of questions here.
I would one or two.
I would say like too many questions, because too many questions arise when we're thinking about the ways we learn, and actually what we learn and what happens with the educational systems. So what are your thoughts about, or which are your questions?
Yeah, you see, I'm thinking a lot about methods and attitudes. If you, I mean, a lot of courses are about methods, and say, okay, if you use that methods, you will reach what you want to achieve. But in many ways, attitudes, the way of thinking is not so easy to change through method or like a one-week workshop. And when children or adults enter an educational space, it's a lot about also their biography, the background, and how they're able to learn. So that's my question. How can you in a system which is like working in short-term goals, maybe implement these things which are so important, or to change somebody's attitude, like self-confidence, for instance?
True. Yeah, and also finding out purpose. Like I'm always thinking, okay, what is the purpose of this third grade at school? What is the purpose of it? Is it that kids know how to do this or that, or is it that they find themselves, or they are better citizens? Which is the purpose? Why we educate? I've been teaching for 25 years, and I guess you have
Same.
done a lot more than that.
Oh.
Not much.
I'm not. Thank you for the compliment of age.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, true. It's a lot of experience. Yeah.
So I always been asking, why do we need this course, or why does it have to be 1 month or 1 week? Because the system, the educational system, normally tells you about the format, right? I mean, so what is the purpose of that format? It's one of the bigger questions. And there is another question that here is in German. Probably you understand it better than I do. And is, how do we foster our talent, right? How do we actually find our talents? Because we're all different, right? We are all unique, and we have different talents. I know I'm useless with technical things, for example, completely useless, or manual things. But I realized that, like with years of, like trying to do things that I was asked to do at school and at the university, and not being able to, and having a lot of frustration. But then you realize, okay, I'm not just good at it. I might be good at something else. So finding your talent and your voice should be fun, should be like happy, and shouldn't be like frustration and pain that we go through, like most of us go through that. So if a kid is not good in math, then he's stupid. This type of things. So those are some of the questions that we will be addressing in the conversations and in the workshops. And if you have any other additional questions in the audience, well, you can just type them down. We will share them. And actually, these that you are seeing in the screen, they're posters that will be hanging across Kassel, to see if there are any other answers that we can find in this event. So we have them in English and German, just in case. So what does post-institutional mean, and why have we called this event post-institutional? My dream, and this is very personal, is that we can have a post-institutional era. So we have lived the era of institutions across society at all levels, right? Not only education, but in the art world, we have, powerful institutions that somehow dictate what is good and what is bad. So institutions have been there for a long time. And I mean, I have lived on institutions because I've been teaching for 25 years. And it's part of our system, right? It's part of our lives. But probably is not the only way society can be run, right? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it has been scattered by the online courses. No? It's you can access education from wherever you live and whatever your time is suitable for you. And that's so needed, because in many areas of the world where people can't go to school because it's too far, they have access to it. So that's already a post-institutional way of learning, and it will expand, I think, in the future.
Yeah, and I'm happy about that, actually. And one important thing about the institutions is, like, I don't know, I think too much about this. And it's institutions nowadays are as they are in the market, right? And I'm talking about schools, universities, all the institutions that are involved in education, they are in a market. And they have been creating this market. Private institutions mostly have created this market where they bring these products to the market, and they are competitive about it. And it's only becomes more about who sells more courses, more expensive courses out there, and who can actually offer maybe more, let's say, value through a brand than actual knowledge. So this is something that through the, I don't know, through the last maybe 10 years, I've been thinking a lot, because when people want to grow their talents, they really pick something that they think will, change their lives. Think about a college program, or think about whatever training, right? And they put their hopes and their lives in that as a trigger for change. So the market somehow is selling this, and is selling very useful things, but also selling things that are not so useful, which I think education should have this, let's say, ethic, maybe, way of dealing with the expectations from the people, right? I don't know if you have any thoughts about it, maybe.
Yeah, I think what you see like in schools, and like if schools change the way of teaching, a lot of time parents are afraid. They say, oh, if you do this, I mean, can my child have a good exam and then have a good job? So also the role of the parents are very important, because in many stages it's the parents who decide which education you get, and every person, parents want the best for their children. So this trigger of this industry is very strong for parents, and we need to I think in a way destroy this power somehow. Otherwise we won't, because this, as you said, this education to sports also a certain ethics, a certain way of looking at life. I mean, if so many education comes from these big institutions from the US, we talk about capitalism, and the ethics and attitudes of that is also given through these courses. What am I learning for? Why do I need to learn this? To be more productive, to be more better in this capitalistic system? What for? What are we learning for? So if we want to save the planet and make the climate change stop, it comes from that system. So we need also in education a different goal in ethics.
True, that's so true. And you mentioned before that parents are also always willing for the best for their children, and any parent would want the best for their children, and to have a life, and to have a magnificent life and a happy life, and also to get the job. And this is a point where I'm always, like thinking, is education only about getting a good job to buy a big house, or is it about my personal journey in life, right? Which, of course, having a nice home is part of the personal journey in life. But is education only about getting the best job, or getting the best paid job, or is it also about human beings maybe being more, I don't know, happy, yeah, happy, and internally, right? Because it's like growing from the inside. So when we think about education, I remember back in the days long ago, when I was going to start a university, I was going to start arts, right? So, and the classical comment is, what are you how are you going to pay your life? How are you going to, be successful being a starving artist? So these are questions that are always there. If we get education, we get it to secure, certain money for surviving in society. I did arts and I fully survived, so no problem. But these questions when you are 15 or 16 are really, really strong. And it's about which is the job you're going to get in the future. And you have to decide that when you are 15. So it's really, really really important, right? Unless you have a really, really strong vocation for arts or science or something. The pressure of getting jobs is very present in education, isn't it? Okay, very good point. And we have a participation. Should we then also consider on how to enable parents to make better decisions for the individual growth of their children, getting rid of the thought, what might the others think about us if we do X or Y? Exactly, because it's also about, we all belong to communities and we all want our children to do the best, and we work our life off to give them the best that we can.
Like when I visited Iran and talked to students there, they told me that most of the Iranian parents want their kids to be a doctor, an architect, engineer. So because that's the image of a successful life, or maybe it's true in their society, I don't know, but think of how many talents are excluded by that. And I met students who suffered from that because they had to follow the advice of their parents, and they got really unhappy because they went into an education and life which they wouldn't have chosen themselves.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I'm sure there are hundreds and millions of happy doctors, but not everybody wants to be a doctor, right? So if your journey is to be a doctor and, I don't know, help or researcher, and that's your passion, that's wonderful because it clicks with your parents' ideas, right? But if you don't, I mean, if you want to be a gardener, right? And then your parents think that is not enough, then you're going to be, struggling with your life forever or as long as.
I mean, the question was, I mean, don't we have to deal more with parents' attitudes? And I had an interesting experience in Greece where we did the workshops about what do our children need for the future. So parents came, school teachers came, and what was common for them, that they said, okay, our Greek school system is not sufficient for the demands of the future. So I think there are already parents who see that. And I thought it would be necessary to encourage them. And they said, we don't believe our system will change because it's so petrified.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you do then? So I said at the time, well, try, then it's also your task, or maybe your friends, to create a room of learning experience next to it. Don't sit on the couch on Sunday and watch TV with your kids. Go out in nature, do something together. So, and that's what they could understand. And they were encouraged to do something. But it needs people or organizations who encourage parents to think about these things and help them, because there are parents who see that, help them to empower them.
That's a wonderful point, because actually, probably parents, of course, they want their best for the children, but they might also be afraid, right?
Sure.
And might also be insecure about the future of their own children. We have another comment from Manuel. I understand this image. It is the same in the rural area in Austria I come from. I believe this job perspective is related to the unknown abundance of jobs out there in the world. We all have concepts in our mind about doctors, lawyers, architects, and so on. But we as children and parents lack an overview what is possible today. Damn, that's so right. So our own horizon limits the possibilities of our little ones. My thought on that. And yeah, with having a child changes like your life forever.
Yeah, and it's my experience, like when people ask me what is moving school, and I talk about this, many people hardly understand it. And also, and I got to this point to think, okay, how can they, if they are run through the old system? How can you tell a blind person about color? So it's always the question how to bring people in this new experience of education. What is possible? And what he says about this orientation, as I said, so many people who graduate in school now in Germany, they don't know what to study or what education to do, because as there's so many things. So what to choose? Many of them don't have the overview. I mean, how can you get it? Who is helping you to get it? So there's needed a lot of guidance about this kind of orientation, and also encouragement that if you choose something now, it's not for a lifetime. Don't be afraid. Just start. And because our lives, if we look at it, so many detours, get to a very different thing. But to have that trust in life, something will come up and my talents will show, which needs time. It's as a 15-year-old, you don't know all your talents, even if as an adult.
Maybe you even never get to know that, but the journey is what you have, right? That's really interesting. So to wrap up this point, we're trying, with the post-institutional concept to create environments that foster individual skills and talents and aspirations, and expectations about life, that make people better, just make people happier and make people better as an individual, but also as a member of a community, a society, a country, or a city. So this is what institutional is about. And here, these are, like goals for the week is maybe leaving behind the educational system and focusing our energies and focusing our own talents into leaving behind things like productivity-based models or normative-based models or hierarchical and discriminatory models, things that are homogenizing everyone, making everyone equal when we are all different, right? Like fruits in the world, things that are maybe not frustrating or too competitive, or that are more enhancing and are more kind to our children and our young professionals. And I do believe that everybody, because we never end up, we will never finish learning is a thing. So in terms of the meaning of post-institutional, we have these two concepts, which is pedagogy and andragogy, right? And it's a very basic concept, but I wanted to put it out there because it's a change of paradigm, right? We are currently still in the pedagogy paradigm, trying to put together all these energies and all these initiatives on the will of parents and artists and educators and scientists who want to do more. We will have a very interesting science example with the future space here in Kassel that you will see on Wednesday, and then go maybe probably into models or options that include andragogy, which is more, let's say, peer-to-peer, and is more a community-based as well, less hierarchical, less normative in this sense, and maybe more fluid. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, this is of course it's hard to change, so it will take time, but I think it's worth starting it. Yeah, and I mean, there are communities out in the world who teach each other with the skills they have. Like you see students or mothers like in India who would meet under bridges with children, sit on a carpet and teach them. And that's very powerful because they start to write, start to read. So it's not always about being an educated teacher. Every one of us has to teach something. Everyone has skills. And we need more opportunities to give them away.
Spaces. We will have a great example today, right? After Manuel's presentation, we will have a beautiful example about this today. Okay, what time is it?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Oh my God. Okay, so why post-institutional is the reason is we need new systems and organizations that can offer different spaces and tools and values, and probably they can offer a better experience, and to reach personal and community goals, a nicer path, right, to find yourself and to find the way to contribute to wherever community or society you participate in, and how can you actually make it better or make it grow, right? So that's one of the goals of thinking post-institutional and embracing the concept of post-institutional. It doesn't mean that institutions need to disappear, but probably that they need to think about themselves and be open to change, right? And be open to act in new ways, right? It's all about that, or maybe completely transform themselves into a more liquid thing, as Bauman would say. We also have many new tools, technologies, contexts that need to be used, right? They are there. So this is also about maybe rethinking the classroom, rethinking the dialogue, right? And letting our mind be creative about the ways we interact. We want to build communities, community-based spaces, not unidirectional or lonely spaces. There's a thing with the e-learning during the pandemic that a lot of people in the curfew, they were maybe in a tiny apartment in a big city on their own, like on their own, trying to go through all these nonsense of COVID-19. And many of them went into e-learning, to do something. But it was such a lonely experience. And for many of them, it was, yes, I'm getting this, but still really lonely in this world that is falling apart. So we want to create more interaction, and post-institutional may mean that we can, have a community agreement through spaces and platforms for collaboration, as you were saying before. This is a very long slide to be explained in 5 minutes, because we would also like, if we have more participation, to give room for that participation. But someone else is coming in. Okay, but basically, post-institutional also includes the concepts of the self. So how do I look at me, my life, my participation, my role in society, my growth, right? As a human being, how ready I am when, right? When am I able to absorb? When am I able to provide? When am I able to learn? When do I need to share and teach? So how is this working, because we are double way beings. Which are the motivations? Is it to grow? Is it to contribute? Is it to help? Is it to transform, right, our communities, our societies, or ourselves? How is that experience going to happen? How do I want children to learn about history, for example? How do I want adults or senior citizens to know about technologies and to know about, I don't know, new music, for example? How is that experience going to happen? Is it going to be a nice experience? Is it going to be happy experience? Is it going to be a tough experience? So we design these experiences, right? And which are, you know, the goals, the objectives, and which is the orientation that we give to that path. It's basically very in a very fast way how we want to approach during the week.